I guess they didn't love me. When you love somebody and they don't love you back, then
Dang.
you gotta go elsewhere.
Salt in the wound.
Salt in the wound. So,
Man.
but I think Zach retired a Detroit Lion. I'm gonna go check.
Do
And
you
if he
retire
did,
with a specific team?
you
Or do
don't
you
have
just
to because
retire?
there are a lot of guys that just retire
Uh-huh.
and they
Extended
don't
free agency, if you will.
exactly. It's like you don't fill out any papers. Well, at least I didn't fill out any papers. I didn't sign a one-day contract. At least I don't believe I did. Things get a little fuzzy. But
You
no.
hear that, Rand Carthon?
Yeah, exactly. I hadn't signed
Still
a
a free
one.
agent.
I'm
So
still
you're
a free
telling
agent,
us
Rand.
that you're coming back?
I'm still a free agent. That's what I am. I never signed no papers or anything else. So
Do the cleats still fit?
absolutely, the cleats still fit. I can still go now. Give me a hitch route, a few hitch routes. I can run a comeback better than anybody in the NFL right now. I can run a comeback better than anybody. I can run a slant, a sluggo stop better than anybody in the NFL right now. I will put my money on anybody right now, and I can run a sluggo slant, a sluggo stop, and a comeback better than anybody in the league right now. Anybody.
I want to see it.
Anybody.
Next
I'm
time we're
telling
at Titans practice, I want to see you putting the cleats on, strapping up the gloves, getting back on the horse.
Hey, I can
Seeing
do it.
D-Mase what D-Mase does best.
I can do it. So there you go. But yeah,
Take
Zach.
that, Zach Biller.
Yeah, Zach, take that. Zach's my guy, though. I love Zach.
Zach
I
is
love
the
Zach.
best. Happy to have him on the Jason Big Joe show every single week. All right, D-Mase, we have got a football. So we will be out for the rest of the week with our families for Thanksgiving tomorrow and Friday. So this is our last opportunity to chat before the Titans-Panthers game on Sunday. So that's where I want to start, is Titans-Panthers. Now, look, the Carolina Panthers are truly awful. They have won one game so far this season, and the Panthers are in a transitional period within their organization. Of course, they had the first overall pick, traded up with the Chicago Bears to select Bryce Young. Bryce Young hasn't looked very good because he hasn't really had a whole lot of great pieces around him. The Carolina Panthers right now are the worst team in the National Football League. But I don't even feel confident in the Titans beating the Carolina Panthers on Sunday.
Ooh, that's not good.
Do you?
Well, again, I think I said, and I'm not going to go back on this. The way the Titans have played all season, there's no more they should win games on their schedule because they haven't proven that they can consistently go out there and play good football. They haven't proven that they can consistently go out there and beat teams that are in the NFL, whether you are, 8-2 or 9-1 like the Philadelphia Eagles, or you're the Carolina Panthers that have only won, 2 games.
Yeah.
So they haven't given me, and I think more importantly, haven't given a fan base, trust that this is a game that they should win. There's no should wins on your schedule anymore. As bad as you have played all season, and granted, you have 3 victories, I get that, but even in those victories, those games were close. All but one, I believe, that was the Cincinnati game.
And that was a different Cincinnati
Exactly.
team
It was a different Cincinnati team, and we all know that team, the motor of that team is their quarterback.
Yeah.
And he
Which
wasn't
they
healthy.
will have no longer have
Exactly.
the rest of the
And
season.
Joe Burrow is out for the season, so that was a different team. But it's hard for me to sit here and say that this is a game they should win, or this is a game you can chalk up, because as bad as the Carolina Panthers have looked at times, majority of the whole season, the Titans have as well.
Yeah.
So you're just talking about 2 bad teams playing one another to sort of solidify who's the worst team.
That was a game that I circled at the beginning of the season when we were doing our full season outlook, our projections, which games they're going to win, which games they're going to lose. That was one that I looked at, and I was like, you're going to beat the Panthers. That's a game you absolutely should win. But like you said, there's no should wins anymore. Because as bad as Carolina has looked, you're that bad too.
Yes.
This is a bad football team. These are 2 very bad football teams. Now, the one thing that I think can give me confidence in this team is the fact that this team has played significantly better at home. And this game will be in Nissan Stadium. If this game was in Carolina, I would say it truly is a toss-up.
Yeah.
The Titans have played better at home. So that gives me at least a little bit of a shred of hope that they can pull this win out. But also, D-Mase, I don't know how much this fan base really cares about wins and losses anymore.
Yeah, if
And
you
that's a scary position for this team to be in. And I could be completely wrong. And that's what the question is for callers, texters, and listeners is how much do you really care about the results at the end of this season? How much do you really care about the result on Sunday? If the Titans win by double digits, is it going to feel the same way that it did against the Bengals or against the Chargers earlier this season?
you just don't know. You look at the point spread. I think it's Titans minus 3.5. So that's basically you are a favorite because you're at home, and that's it. It has nothing to do with your roster or their roster. It's that you're at home, so we're going to give you, the points. We're going to give you the 3.5 because you're at home. That should, and I know the players don't look at that because they don't have time to look at it. I can't tell you if I ever looked at a point spread when I was playing. I probably more than likely didn't because I couldn't concern myself with that. But if they were to look at this, you would have to, as a Titans, as a Titans roster or players, you would have to be embarrassed, that there are, in the Titans fans, you should look at this as basically this is a toss-up game.
Yeah.
And
against the worst team in the league.
Against the worst team in the league. So, the Titans, they're going to have to. I think this is, as much as I thought last week's game was a game, I think that game was for Jacksonville. Jacksonville wanted to prove, hey, listen, we are the better team, and they did it. I think this is a game for the Titans to at least give their fan base, the fan base here in Nashville, some hope, that we are a team that can win football games. Yes, our season hasn't gone the way we wanted it to, but when we are up against lesser teams, we are capable of winning those games. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
It's not for playoffs because they're not making the playoffs. Even if I believe, every team in their division would have to lose every game. Every game, I think, for them to have an opportunity to go to the playoffs. And I don't think that's happening. Right. So this is a game for the Titans where, they have to go out there and give their fans something to cheer about. And it needs to start early.
Because if you lose this game, and we are never going to get anyone in trouble or mad at anyone for anything that they haven't done yet or something that hasn't happened yet. But hypothetically speaking, if you don't beat the Panthers on Sunday, I don't know where there is any hope that you can win any of the rest of the games on your schedule. That 3-14 probably seems a little bit more likely than not because the Panthers are the worst team in the league. And if you can't beat the worst team in the league, then maybe you are the worst team in the league. Now, they haven't lost to the Panthers yet. They have played better at home.
Yes.
But when it comes to the fan base's approach to this game, to this team, to the rest of this season, I think there's a really important, two different things to distinguish of fans being frustrated about this season and maybe just cheering for a better draft pick. And I think that is okay. And that's a fine place. If you're a Titans fan and that's how you feel and you're saying, hey, let's just get through this season, let's get a top 5 draft pick, maybe you can package it into a couple of picks, maybe you can find your left tackle of the future, maybe you can get Marvin Harrison Jr., then fine. And I have no problem with that because that's where we are with this team. This team has looked so bad that now we can talk draft.
Yes.
But the other side of that is, does the fan base not really care about winning because they just don't really care about this team? And I heard Robbie and Joe talking about this earlier this season, are the fans disappointed or are they apathetic? I think a disappointed fan base is an okay place to be in.
Oh, absolutely.
Because your fans still care. People still care. People care enough to be disappointed about the outcome every single Sunday or the outcome of this season. Apathy, on the other hand, I think is the most dangerous place that a franchise can be in with their fan base, as a fan base that simply just doesn't care.
I don't think, on one hand, I don't think they have gotten to that point. But I think this game and then subsequently the next home game will show whether there's apathy or whether there's just disappointment. Because right now we have a bunch of callers, bunch of texters, they're just upset, disappointed about how the Titans have went about structuring this team in the offseason.
And you should be disappointed.
And you should be disappointed and you should be upset. but I don't think they've reached that point of apathy. I just don't. I think it doesn't take a, if you've, okay, let me say that. If you've reached that point, then you never were a Titan fan anyway. Because to me, it takes more than a calendar year for you to reach that point. You can be disappointed, which I know a lot of Titan fans are. You can be damn disappointed in your team. But when you talk about that other word, that means, a team like the Detroit Lions before they start winning. I think their fan base, a portion of their fan base had apathy.
Bears, maybe?
Bears, I think a portion of their fan base. The Washington Commanders, I think they're getting there.
Yeah.
Or if they're not there already.
Probably the Texans.
The
fan base
Texans
before
were
this
there
season.
exactly before this season. So we got some years before you reach that word. But right now, in the midst of it, I think the fan base is disappointed. They have every right to be disappointed because your head coach said, trust us. We will get this right. They haven't gotten it right yet.
And why should I trust you to figure it out moving
Exactly. So I don't think they've reached the apathy, but I think they are disappointed in where the Titans are headed or where the Titans are at this current moment.
Which is why I think this offseason, decisions that they make with Mike Vrabel, decisions that they make with the coaching staff, decisions that they make in terms of roster, personnel, free agency, draft, why this offseason is so paramount for not just this team, how they can do next season, but really for the state of the franchise. Because I'm with you. Based off of how many passionate fans we've heard from in the text line, on the phone lines, on Twitter, that this is a passionate fan base still that's disappointed, but still wants to see this team succeed. That still sees a light at the end of the tunnel of, look, we're bad right now, but we think that we can still get back to the point of being a Super Bowl contender. Not this year, maybe not next year, but they still have hope. Disappointment is still an okay emotion to have if you're Amy Adams Strunk or a fan of this organization. But this offseason is so important because you might be reaching a point of apathy with the fan base, where you go from a 7-game losing streak at the end of last season, a bad team this year. If fans don't see improvement within the roster, within the coaching staff for this team next year, I think you're going to approach apathy within a fan base, which I think is waving the red flag of that's the most dangerous position that a fan base can be in, that a franchise can be in, as a fan base that simply just doesn't care anymore. We're not there yet, but you're going to have to make some major changes to show this fan base that we're not going to fall back into that point where the fan base really has no other option but to be apathetic, but to not care about this team.
Yeah, and, have they gotten there in previous years? Now, we're talking, the end of the Fisher era, headed into the Wizen Hunt, and then obviously, not necessarily, not Mike Malarkey, but Mike Munchak. Those years, and maybe I don't know, because I was playing half of it. There had to be like a 10-year period in there, probably a little bit less, let's say 6, where this team just wasn't good. And Titans fans understood that. So if they didn't reach the point of apathy then, I don't expect them to reach it now, especially after coming off of, 3 or 4 straight years of playoff appearances, AFC championship game appearance. And then obviously I understand that it just fell off the cliff.
Yeah.
But even in falling off the cliff, I think the majority of the Titans fans still show up at Nissan Stadium, still cheer on their team, still watch them play. They may watch them play and may throwing stuff around the house or getting mad, but they still watch their team play. So if you still have the fan base engaged, then that's a good thing. Even though they're upset, that's a good thing. I was told this a long time ago, that if you're in a relationship and that person doesn't get mad anymore with the things you're doing, you need to be worried. Yeah, you need to be worried.
Yeah.
If that person shows no emotion and it's just like whatever, that's when you know it's over. But if they still show that emotion and whatnot, then there's a sliver of a hope. Well, the Titan fan base, from what we have seen, there's still that emotion.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, but they need to get it right starting this offseason.
And losing to the Carolina Panthers on Sunday,
That wouldn't help.
It would not help potential apathy of this fan
Mm-hmm.
base or the growing frustration of this fan base. But I want to get your thoughts on it. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Wes is on the line with a thought on Mike Vrabel and an overall outlook on this Titans team. What's up, Wes?
Oh, good morning. How are y'all doing?
Doing well.
Well, D-Mase, first off, before I ask you my main question, my first question is, with all the years of experience, have you ever seen an offensive line this bad? In general?
Honestly, I have. Let's just say this. Because when you're playing, you really don't pay attention to other people's offensive line other than that day, and then you sort of move on. But I've never been a part of an offensive line that looks like what they're putting out there on the field this year. Never been a part of it, and I've never seen it. So to answer your question, no, I haven't.
Okay. Well, that was kind of a side question, but, I'm really, really confused, and I guess probably most of us are. But what is the big deal about this Carolina game? Because everybody's saying, man, we got to win, we got to win. Okay, if you win, you get a worse pick in the draft, and you can celebrate by saying, you beat the worst team in the league. I don't understand what the purpose of everybody saying we have to win this game, or it could be Vrabel's job. Why is it this game? Why wasn't it last week whenever we were feeling this way?
Yeah, no, thank you for your call. I think looking at it, I don't know if this is a game that I can say that you have to win this one.
It's optics.
It's all optics, because if you lose to the worst team in the league, then you are the worst team
Exactly.
in the league.
That's the difference between, even though I thought last game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, you needed that win solely because you needed to stay in a position where you could make a run and could potentially win a division if Jacksonville falls off the map, or if Houston, that young team sort of hits that proverbial rookie wall in a sense. So if you win the Jacksonville game, it gives you hope that, okay, they would have been 4-6.
4-7.
4-7.
Or if they would have
won at
beaten
Jacksonville.
4-6.
4-6. So at 4-6, you still have hope. That's why, it was looked at a little bit different. But this game, if you don't win it, basically what you just said, Caroline, now you become the worst team in the National Football League because you lost to the worst team.
Right.
The fans, even though they didn't like it, they can deal with the loss to Jacksonville. Because Jacksonville has shown they're a good team. Even though Titans fans believe, hey, listen, we should be able to. We've beaten them before. We can beat them again. It's different. But with Carolina, you're talking about the worst team in the league coming into your place. And if you lose it, this is not about, we need to win because of, playoff seeding or drafts. This has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with the perception. Because if you lose this game, the perception nationally, it starts to change about your head coach. Even though the perception here is a little bit different than what it is on the outside, you lose to Carolina Panthers, now the perception outside of Nashville changes about your team and about your head coach.
And Titans fans might be feeling that way because I think a good portion of the Titans fan base has accepted the fact that, all right, we're just tanking for the draft. We just want a better pick in this year's draft. That's not the mindset within the locker room. That can't be the mindset within this locker room, with this coaching staff, with this entire team. The mindset should be, we're going to go out there and try and win every single game that we have on our schedule. We are going to try and win as many football games as possible. I understand that fan priorities and team priorities are different, but that's why I think the perception is you have to win this game, is because this team really is just that bad. And I feel like we said week over week over week that, all right, we've reached a new low. We've reached a new bottom. Losing to Carolina, that's about as low as you can get. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your thoughts on this. How much do you really care as a Titans fan? How many more games this team wins? And that's a genuine question. If you don't care at all, great. If you do care, then great. We'll get into your thoughts on that. Plus, one reason why this team has been struggling so much, specifically this offense has been struggling so much, is because of the offensive line. And I've said, look, I'm not an offensive line evaluator. I'm not an offensive line coach. But we do have our very own offensive line guru who had his evaluation of this offensive line. Really, what is the problem with it? Is it coaching? Is it personnel? Is it both? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we're live out here at Barrel House at Bridgestone Arena. We are brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Happy Wednesday, people. We are on the eve of Thanksgiving, so hopefully you are picking up some food and some ingredients and being safe out there because it's a little gloomy. But man, I know you're sitting at home, you're chilling, or you're leaving work, or didn't even go to work. But I know you're listening to 102.5 The Game, and I need to tell you about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne, along with that experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They're there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. So, there's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle. Men, what are you waiting for? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment. Here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458, or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Teams that when defenses move, the offensive linemen don't move with them and stay in front of them. You can coach up offensive linemen that are not supremely talented but are willing to work hard. And I think these guys are willing to work hard. You can see them try. You can coach them up to have really good technique, even if they're not really talented. And that will force the defense to at least defeat the guy in front of them instead of not having a guy in front of them at all, or maybe a half a guy in front of them, and the gap is exposed. So I don't think they're getting the most out of the offensive line as they could.
That was ESPN college football analyst Trevor Maddich, and I have said I am no offensive line evaluator. I am no offensive line guru in the slightest, but I know a bad one when I see one. Well, Trevor Maddich is an offensive line guru, an offensive line enthusiast. He played offensive line in the NFL. His takeaway from watching the Titans really all season, but specifically on Sunday, is you don't have a lot of talent, but you're also not coached up very well. And that is a recipe for an absolute disaster, which is what that offensive line is, an absolute disaster.
Yeah, this was something that I started to see over and over again the last couple of weeks, and you know, this offensive line, and Trevor said it right. They, for whatever reason, they can't pick up stunts and twists. You know that that's going to happen, and you have a hard time at picking it up. Again, he's right. This offensive line isn't talented at all.
We knew that.
By the stretch of anybody's imagination, it's not good. But with proper technique, it can be managed. Well, the teaching of that technique comes from who? The coach.
The offensive line coach.
The offensive line coach. So if you're continuing to have, and this is not the first year, it was last year too. If you are continuing to have these problems, then we need to start looking at who's coaching them, because the old saying is either you're coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. In this situation, it's happening over and over again. I know that Vrabel's just like, this is not what he wants, but ultimately, it goes back to the offensive line coach. This is what you're teaching these guys. Simple things. Pick up twist. You should know if you study the tape long enough, which I'm sure they have. And like Trevor said, these guys they're giving effort. I'm not going to sit here and say they're not giving the effort, because I believe they are. They're playing hard.
Yeah.
But they're just, from a technique standpoint, there are things you're supposed to be able to do, regardless of how talented you are. If I work my proper technique, then at least I give myself an opportunity and a chance. But they're not even working the proper technique to pick up certain twists and stunts. That all falls on the offensive line coach. Just like a receiver, if you're not running the proper route, or you're doing things opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, ultimately it falls on the receiver coach. Especially if you have talent. In this case, they don't have much talent on the offensive line. But say if you didn't have talent, like last year, did they fire the receiver coach last year?
No.
No, they didn't. They kept him, okay? Why? And there was not much talent there, and we saw it on the field. The leading receiver had 500 yards. Hell, DeAndre Hopkins had 500 yards last week. So the leading receiver at the end of the year had just over 500 yards. But they still retain, and believe me, I'm not asking for them to fire a receiver coach. But what I'm saying is this. They were, I guarantee you, from what they know how to do and technique, they were there. They were being coached at in the receiver room. That's why I think Vrabel chose to retain the receiving coach, because he said, listen, we just got to improve the talent.
Yeah.
Once we improve the talent, guys are able to, we'll be fine, because I believe what's being coached is there. You can't say that about the offensive line.
No.
One, they don't have talent, but you're messing up on the same things over and over and over. Like you're missing twists and stunts every game. There's only so many ways a guy can twist and stunt, and y'all can't pick him up. A guy standing there. I can remember last game, there was one twist that was made by Jacksonville where the center was just standing there with nobody to block. You should never be standing there with no one to block. You should be trying to help somebody out. And he wasn't. Aaron Brewer wasn't. So stuff like that is happening too many times. Okay, some of it, yeah, the players. But ultimately, after that, you got to start blaming or pointing the finger at the guy that's coaching them.
And that is where my frustration has lied. And that's why when we bring up this conversation of should Mike Vrabel be the coach of this team next year, is because of this coaching staff, is because, I mean, first of all, it was not a very good evaluation of the talent on the offensive line to begin with, because you're paying Aaron Brewer $4 million, and Aaron Brewer can't snap the football and can't block. You bring in Andre Dillard, and, I mean...
Yeah, you don't have to say no more.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. You're bringing in Andre Dillard, period.
Exactly.
That was the mistake there. But they're just not getting anything out of them. They haven't gotten better. That's really been my point about this coaching staff, of the team as a whole, but the offensive line, they haven't gotten better. And based off of Trevor Mattich's evaluation, the most important part of that offensive line actually has gotten worse. This was Trevor Mattich. So Trevor Mattich says he sees Peter Skoronski regressing. If this team is building for the future, wants to get younger, then your priorities should be your top round picks in the draft. I know that Will Levis is this team's number one priority, and he should be. But building up the offensive line and protecting your first round pick to be a foundational piece of that offensive line moving forward also should be a top priority. Trevor says he's regressing.
Well,
that falls on the coaching staff.
I am going to defer to Trevor on that one.
When it comes to the offensive line, I always defer
to Trevor.
And
Trevor knows exactly what he's seen, like the intricate parts or the inner workings of an offensive line. I can just tell you, hey, listen, these guys stunt, and I've seen these stunts and twists over and over again, and I've seen the Tennessee Titans offensive line, for whatever reason, miss the stunt over and over again. So based upon that, y'all are not being taught what y'all need to be taught technique-wise to pick up these stunts. Now, Trevor can go more in depth, and he did with Peter Skoronski. I wrote down during the game, the Jacksonville game, third play of the game, Aaron Brewer gives us sacks. And then I put a notation, poor technique. It was poor technique that caused him to give up the sack early in the game. And it was a quick sack. It wasn't, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, nobody's open, then he get a sack. No, it was 1,001, 1,000, you're sacked. Poor technique. And it's happening over and over again. And here's the problem. You knew exactly the problems you had last year with this offensive line. So much so that you fired the offensive line coach.
Rightfully so.
And rightfully so. But what made you think that the guy behind him was going to do any better when he was being taught, sort of, tutored by the guy they end up getting fired.
That's the golden question, D-Mase. And Mike Vrabel said, well, he had a great interview. Okay.
A lot of people have great interviews, but that don't mean they're up to doing a job.
Interviews don't win you Super Bowls.
Exactly. There have been plenty of coaches in the National Football League, in college, in high school that have great interviews. And then once they start coaching, it goes left for whatever reason. So don't give us he had a great interview. There's a lot of people that can come in with great interview.
Yeah.
But can you get the job done? If you are the guy underneath the guy that I fired, and the guy that I fired is teaching you, the techniques and everything else, and you're sort of buying into it, my thing is, why am I going to hire you? I'm going to go outside. I'm going to try to go find the best, a guy that is proven, a guy that has put in a lot of work, and there's fruits of that labor. I see it. I saw it with teams, that he's coached. That's the coach I'm going to go after.
Well,
I'm not going to go
after the
after.
logical approach, right?
Yeah.
That's what would make sense, right?
But I understand, and I get it too, that you want to give individuals opportunity, because you don't know how good someone is until you give them an opportunity. So I do get that. But now he's showing that that he's not the guy for the job.
Yeah.
You probably can, make him assistant offensive line coach again, or put him at some other position, but it doesn't seem like he's the right guy for the job.
Oh, no.
And, Vrabel's excuse can be, well, y'all don't know what we're coaching. And you're absolutely right. We don't know what you're coaching, but we see with our eyes what is happening on Sundays.
I'm sick of that excuse from Mike Vrabel of, everyone's making too big of a deal of the offensive line. Of no. We just can't get back.
How did he let that come out of his mouth?
I have no idea. But when I asked him the question about why didn't you do more in the offseason to address the offensive line, he said, well, we just can't get in drop back situations. I would disagree that we've been struggling blocking. I'm not an offensive line guru, but I can see with my own two eyes how this offensive line got your starting quarterback hurt, and it might get your rookie quarterback hurt as well. So don't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't answer questions, fair questions about this football team, and respond with, well, I played in this league, so I think I know what makes a good coach. None of that. No more talking down. No more gaslighting. We can all see with our own two eyes how bad of a product this is. And I don't care how long you play in the NFL. I don't care how much you can tell me that you don't think that this offensive line is struggling with blocking. We can see it. It was a problem with talent evaluation, the construction of this offensive line to begin with, and now it's a question of coaching.
Listen, there was a car manufacturer some years ago. I love telling these stories. But there was a car manufacturer a couple years ago that, and I'm not going to say the name, but their batteries kept, exploding or catching on fire. I don't need to be an engineer or anything else to know that something's wrong with that car. Like, that car, I don't need to be. You need to change whatever you're doing. You need to change it and get it right. Because if you don't, many more car batteries are going to start catching on fire.
Right.
I don't need to be the guy in the room putting it all together. I don't need to have a degree in that to know that that's a bad car right now, and I'm not getting in it. That's basically what it is with the offensive line.
Right.
I don't need to be in the offensive lineman room. I don't need to know what they're doing. All I see is over and over again, they are getting beat by the same things. Over and over again. Your center is getting ran over just about every play. Aaron Brewer is a good player. He deserves to play in this league, but he's not a starter. He is not a starter on this team, nor would he be a starter on anybody else's team? Why? Because he's too light in the rear end. He may have good technique majority of the times, but even with the good technique, he gets pushed back into the quarterback. And you can't have that in today's football.
Trevor touched on Aaron Brewer. Jared asked him, why can't he snap the football? Trevor said he's too small. He's too small, so he has to, hastily snap the football so he can get back up and block. That it all comes back to, the core thing that we can see, that I don't need to know about the mechanics or the techniques of snapping a football and blocking. I will never, ever deny that I am not very well versed on that. But what I can see is, look, you 280-pound center. You can't. You can't. You are not big enough. You are not. You don't have the talent to start at this level, and it's hurting this offensive line. Let's get into your thoughts on this. Everything is on the table. The O-line, apathy within this fan base. Are you feeling it? Are you frustrated? We'll get into your questions, your calls, your texts, your questions coming up next. 615-737-1025. Make your silly underdog picks for your chance to win weekly prizes. You can play at theGameNashville.com or the 1025 The Game app as we approach Week 13 of college football and Week 12 of the NFL. Silly Underdog Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
Hey, Nashville. You've heard me talk about Zen Sports over the last couple of months, which is the new sports betting app exclusively in Tennessee. And I'm excited to share with you some big news, okay? Now, when you sign up for a Zen Sports account, you will receive up to a $1,000 no danger first wager. That's right. When you place your first bet on Zen Sports, you can be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to a $1,000 maximum if the bet loses. And there's even more good news, okay? Zen Sports is rolling out its brand new VIP reward program. This VIP reward program will allow top-tier customers to earn more bonuses, comps, and perks. The VIP program is by invite only. So if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, please check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. There's no other sport book will offer you a premier sports betting experience with 24/7 top-tier customer support and faster withdrawals like Zen Sports. So, what are you waiting for? Get going and download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
D-Mase. Tune in to 93.3 Classic Hits this Saturday for MTSU football. Blue Raiders will kick off at 11 a.m. on the road against Sam Houston. Pregame beginning at 10 a.m. Coverage also available on the 93.3 Classic app and at 93.3classichits.com. Let's get into your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chris is on the line with a thought on the Titans. What's up, Chris?
Hi, it's your old friend, Caroline. I'm
Titans
back
in
again.
truth. How are you, Chris?
I am good. Mr. D-Mase, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
D-Mase, I know you may have been saying this before, but I got to give you a golf clap. I'm proud of you, brother. You have finally come to the dark side with me and Caroline, and you'll realize yesterday what we've all been thinking, that Vrabel is just not fit for this team. And on the offensive line point, the apathy is huge because I think Vrabel has gone through 3 of the 5 stages of grief. He's in denial about Andre Dillard because it looks like he's going to try to go back to him again, which would be a fireable offense. He's been bargaining to the fans and to all of you, saying, well, we're going to fix this offensive line. We're going to get better. It's not a big deal, when clearly it is. And it's like he's just accepted that this is what it is, and you're gonna keep trying to fix the problem when clearly there's no adaptation, there's no adjustment. And I mean, isn't it always said that an offensive line needs time to grow cohesion and grow continuity together? But it will not work if you keep shuffling everybody all over the place. He moves Dylan Raiders from left to right, from guard to tackle. He's moving Duncan from right to left. You know, he moves Skoronski, instead of playing him at left tackle like he did in college, put him at left guard, something he hasn't done a lot of, and it messes up everything. And he so loves Brewers so much because he's tougher than a $2 steak, which doesn't amount to much. I mean, give Corey Levin a shot. I'm like, what does he have against Corey Levin? What does he have against Dylan Raiders? I mean, does Andre Dillard have something on Vrabel that he just seems to want to throw him back in? I don't
Chris,
get it. But
all good points.
I'm sick of it.
You and me both, Chris. Appreciate your call. Happy Thanksgiving, Chris. Thanks for calling in. Look, and the switching up of the offensive linemen, I do understand that part of that is injury related.
He has no choice.
You have no choice. That you kind of are forced into a situation where you're going to have to shuffle up the offensive line. But also, they put themselves in that position where they didn't adequately address the offensive line. And something has to change.
Yes, something does have to change. And you know, his denial, his, you know, acceptance, and the way, you know, to call a phrase that tight end truth, you know, it does make you wonder, you know, based upon, you know, Vrabel's answers, you know, to your question, Caroline, when you were able to ask him about the offensive line, and subsequently questions after that about the offensive line. On one hand, yeah, there's not much he can do now, but that's your fault because you are the one that got this offensive line. This is your doing. This is your, you know, dish that you made, and now it's turned out that this dish is not good. So when people ask you, you know, why did you do this or why did you do that? Getting snarky and sort of standoffish, or, you know, I know what I'm saying, I know what I'm doing, you don't know. That doesn't fly anymore. No, it doesn't.
We're past that point.
Yeah,
the
because
whole
people
shtick
see
of,
it.
Yeah,
people see how bad this offensive line is. So, you know, tight end truth, you may just be right about this, where not that they have apathy with the team, they have apathy with this certain position, and that's the offensive line. So they don't want to hear anything else Vrabel has to say about why he chose to do this or why he chose not to do what he did.
Because whatever he chose to do was wrong.
Exactly.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your calls, your texts, and your Titans thoughts. But coming up next, we will chat with Jonathan Hutton of Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow, Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Look at the time. Look at the time.
Look at the time. It is Hut and the Clock. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063, The Game and the Game Nashville app. We're live out here at Barrel House at Bridgestone Arena because the Predators are in action tonight hosting the Calgary Flames starting at 7 o'clock. Willy Donick joins the fun. Willy D, how we doing?
Hey, guys. Good to see you.
Happy to have you on
Hanging
board.
out here at Barrel House. How about that?
It's a great day.
Yeah.
It's a
Changes
great
the venue
day.
a little bit.
And it's also a great day because it's Hut and the Clock. Jonathan
Oh,
Hutton,
yes.
Hot Mike with Hutton Withrow joins us. Hutton, always appreciate your time and always appreciate our visits every single Wednesday. Hutton, we started the show with this. You know, Titans are playing the worst team in the league in the Carolina Panthers this weekend, and even against the lowly Carolina Panthers, I still don't feel very confident about the Titans' chances of winning this game. But I'm interested to hear your perspective of where the Titans fan base is at. Do you think the Titans fan base even cares about winning games anymore?
Yeah, they care. They care. If you take calls, I'm sure they care. That's why everyone is their heads on a pitchfork. They care about winning games. Here's the other thing I think that kind of dulls the losing conversation is, and you guys jump in if you think I'm way off base here, but isn't it just typical Titans that they trade up and draft Will Levis last year in the second round, and this year they could have a top 5 pick and they'll pass on the quarterback because they have Will
classic.
Levis. And
Please don't let that happen.
Well, I mean, Mace, we're headed towards it, man. At this stage, they may have the number 1 pick. Let's be real about it. But they look, and I'm tongue in cheek there. But what they'll do is they'll draft an offensive tackle, and that's the best case scenario for the way this offensive line looks. But it's also rinse, repeat, same song, different verse. The Titans fan base has been there, and it's just kind of played out by now, where we're going to be evaluating offensive linemen again, or debating whether or not to trade back, and then you end up you pass on the O-lineman. Of course, you pass on the quarterback, and of course, you pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. It's a mess, and it's just my grandfather used to say, "I'd rather laugh than cry." I think that's kind of how the fan base is right now.
100%. Where are you on Mike Vrabel and this coaching staff?
I think Vrabel's a good coach. I do. For all of the dissecting of what we have seen this year, we weren't really doing that to him at this time last year. It was all John Robinson. And it's fair now that he's getting criticism. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve criticism. I'm not saying he can't be on the hot seat. I'm just not willing to say, yeah, he should be fired. There's a lot of good that has happened while he has been here. And as long as he's locked in and he wants to be here and working for Amy Adams Strunk, I would want him here as the Titans head coach, at least to the point where we've seen the results that we've seen, and the attitude, the identity ring true. What we're not seeing now is that. It's the exact opposite of that. And I agree. It deserves questioning. Does it deserve the emotional response of he's got to go? No, not yet. But hey, he's got to be willing to evaluate and self-reflect and look and know, hey, some of these coaches aren't getting it done. And, discussing, how close they are on trying to block an extra point and discussing effort and how good the special teams are, or chatting about what could be, a good defense, but it's not good because of this or that, and it's all execution. And then offense has just been a complete disaster. It's got to be more than just execution of plays, especially for a coach that won Coach of the Year, and deservedly so, for getting the most out of a roster that had turned over multiple times. And we're not seeing that this year. That is deserving of criticism and tough questions. Is it deserving of a pink slip? No. But hey, let me finish by saying this. I wasn't expecting John Robinson to get fired on December the 6th last year. And it came down to Amy Adams Strunk telling us she had already made up her mind. So there are always surprises around the corner, and at every turn, it goes back to ownership and what they want or don't want to do.
Now, Hut, does Vrabel does he have enough money in the bank in the sense of, okay, if because we've seen this before, ownership say, hey, listen, you need to move away from said coach, and the head coach don't want to, and then hence the head coach gets fired. Has Vrabel built up enough to if Amy comes to him and say, hey, listen, some things need to be changed, coaching wise. Does he have enough to say, no, let's run it back. I believe in the coaches that I have. I'm going to give them another shot. Has he built up enough equity to be able to do that? Because I thought Mike Mularkey, with what he did with that roster that he inherited, he did enough. And obviously it wasn't, because they end up firing him. Does Vrabel have enough built up to kind of go against that?
Look, Mace, I don't think he can just go completely against it. He didn't go against the Downing firing altogether. He just did at the time, right? So do changes have to be made? Yes. Is he willing to make changes? Yes. My whole thing, if I'm ownership, is just like, okay, what's our plan now? If you're keeping a guy, tell us why, explain why, and why it's not on the coach, why it's not on development. Why is Chigakonkwo not the guy that he was sold to be this past offseason? Like those are the questions I would be asking, more than just like, hey, why are you loyal to this coach? So it's got to me, it's player and position specific. And now we're going back to, I mean, if he wants to take it for the offensive line, he can raise his hand and say he wanted Andre Dillard. He can raise his hand and say that he chose to sign the center to a 4-year contract. Like those are real answers. But at the same point, Mace, there has to be a development and accountability. And if I'm sitting here with you telling you, hey, I don't think Vrabel should be fired, I think some of these coaches got to go. There's got to be some turnover, some new life, and also just an energy factor that says, hey, this was not acceptable. And in the NFL, you're on the hot seat for one bad year. I mean, he's already getting questions about that. If he feels like that's how he feels about that and his job security. And the NFL, heads roll whenever the offense is this awful. And it's not about that they're bad. It's how bad they've been. And they can't even run the football with this offensive line and with the way this offense is currently constructed. That's going nowhere fast. And because of that, the acceptable answer, while there can be several.
Because we have had texters and callers try to, sort of differentiate. I can't get that word out.
Differentiate.
Yeah. There we go. Between last week's and this week's game. And my thing with last week's game, it had everything to do with keeping yourself in the hunt. Because if you're 4-6, it looks better than 3-7. And you still have an opportunity, albeit a long shot, but you still have an opportunity to put yourself in a position to win the division, because we know how this division can get. Guys, teams can go on rolls and they, go on winning streaks and can end up finding themselves like Jacksonville did last season, winning the division on the last game of the season. But I look at this Carolina game as a must-win, not because it has anything to do with the draft, not because it has anything to do with a potential playoff berth, but because you don't want to now be seen outside of Nashville as an incompetent team, a bad team. You're going against what many believe is the worst team in the NFL right now, the Carolina Panthers. If they come to your house and win, now people are not looking at Carolina as the worst team. They're looking at you as the worst team.
The Titans are included in the mix, like with the Cardinals and the Panthers and the Patriots, right? And they already are, by the way.
Good company.
That's just they're already in that company. That's how bad they've been. But I agree with you, Mace. Like the perception is different from the outside looking in, from the 30,000-foot view of what many of the national media will be looking at. But besides Patriots, Giants, Titans, and maybe it's on the same plane too. Good company. Patriots, Giants, Titans, Panthers this Sunday in Week 12, and who would have thought we would have lumped those games in to the worst of the weekend? You can't lose to the Carolina Panthers, Mace, but they also can't be this bad on the road, and they have been. They've been really good at home. 28 points, 27 points. Like they actually score at home. And for what it's worth, they are competitive against bad teams. So they shouldn't come in here and just be an obvious loss. Like, I don't see – I can come up with ways that the Titans win this game. It's when they play average teams that they don't meet that criteria. And they can compete against teams that are very much like them. I mean, the Panthers are going and taking their lumps with the rookie quarterback. The Titans – just don't have an offensive line. We know that's the case in Carolina as well. And we've seen not just a regression, but a virtual just poof and it's gone of the run game, just an evaporation, because they've gone from not just regressing to, over the last couple of weeks, it's just not there. And 18 sacks in the last 8 games for the defense. They have 5 takeaways in the last 8 games. That's the worst in the NFL. They're facing a rookie quarterback that they should be able to get the ball from, but they have been telling us they're not going to be able to do that and this was a coaching staff that really pounded the pavement about getting more turnovers this offseason. And then, Trevor Lawrence that didn't have a single rushing touchdown until last week, and he had 2 on Sunday. So I take this into account when I say anything's possible against this Panthers team. That's how bad the Titans are. And I also think a lot of the sentiment that we're discussing, where it's just kind of like, Vrabel shouldn't go, but coaches got to go. I think I'm probably like many of those that are listeners or callers to your show. Like I think that's likely the sentiment internally. But lose to Carolina at home, and who knows? I mean, that's one of those that you just it feels like the Chargers game, Willie. Mase, Carolina. The Chargers game at home this year, you could feel there was a bit of pressure there where you got to go win this game.
Yeah.
And then you had Levis's first game, where he's piled on to that, and this they return home. It feels like forever, and that pressure's still there, even though it's a team that's not going anywhere.
And the only reason I bring that up, Hut, is because I think once the narrative changes nationally, I think that's when the pressure starts to heat up. Because if it's just a local thing where some fans are, displeased with what's going on, they don't like what's going on, they're disappointed, that's one thing. I think if it starts becoming a national narrative that that's a bad team, that the coaches on that coaching staff isn't made for this team and they need to go in another direction. I think once that changed from a national standpoint, that's when coaches starts to get fired.
Well, that and that's whenever the reports begin to contradict themselves, right? You've got Breer and Brussini who are saying that Amy Adams-Strunk loves Mike Vrabel and is glowing about him over the offseason or whatever it might be, and that can be true. But that's when you have the updated tweets and posts from different reports, or the other thing that here's what's very cyclical, and the low hanging fruit. They'll go back to the well on the New England rumor, is what they'll do. That's what begins to really circle the wagons and the questions that will begin to be answered. Because while I don't think that Vrabel is just looking to tap out and look for the easy way out, they're what it will cause, Mase, is for a definitive answer before an answer is given of, why won't you say this? Why won't you say that? Are you in? Where's Amy Adams-Strunk? Where's Rand Carthon's voice in all of this? Mike Vrabel's the figurehead. He's the guy. He is making the decisions because he's the one talking. He's going to be getting all those questions, to your point.
Talking to Jonathan Hutton. And, Hud, it's interesting you mentioned the draft scenario, and I kept thinking as you were saying that, and the theme was you have a high pick and an opportunity to get a quarterback, and you think you've already spent enough on quarterbacks that you have to pass. How about Carolina that traded for the first pick? They're 1-9.
Yeah.
There seem to be some questions about their quarterback. They could have the first pick, but they don't have the pick. They don't have the pick. How about that?
Great. It's unbelievable, is what it is. And also on top of it,
the Bears could have what, picks 1 and 3?
Yeah,
1 and 4?
2 top 5 picks.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, now Frank Reich is all of a sudden being mentioned as being on the outs, which is also just as the NFL turns here. There's a lot of storylines for April that are coming up on in late November for the Titans and the Panthers. And in one case, the investment is way bigger than the one that the Titans made. So there is that to compare to, and what the Titans got in Will Levis, who Mel Kiper would have selected number 1 overall.
Okay, so there's always Mel.
Yes.
So, Hut, here's something I know will be a theme down the stretch, and that is guys that you're trying to identify that will be a part of the team going forward. Name me a guy that you're looking for that right now we don't know. It could go either way, that you would like to see solidify his spot on the team for next year.
So on defense for me, it would be solidify his spot, meaning like I could see where he's not back. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Show me a guy that you need to do well, but right now you're not sure if he belongs on the team next year. Like I'm thinking of a lot of guys, like Christian Fulton. I thought might have been coming out of the doghouse until last week, and now it's kind of like I don't see it.
Yeah, they're so back and forth though. I don't know how he plays his way. I think if he plays great, he's out.
We know
anyway,
that's a position where you never have enough of them. You certainly don't never have. They don't have anybody else.
Yeah.
Right now, so that to me, that's a classic one of how does it look in the last 7 weeks? But I don't know that he's going to stay. But that's just one example. But what comes to mind? Because if you're Rand Carthon, you're like, please, somebody emerge so I don't have 50 holes to fill with less than a full complement of draft picks, et cetera.
Well, I would lump this in and just say, Willie, they signed a lot of backups that they thought were not done developing into who they are. Arden Key, Alshire, just defensively, guys that can be done, you can do away with in a year if they're not the guy. But they really need they need to hit on one or two of those guys. Offensive line's the same way, but I'm not lumping them in because, again, there's another turnover coming up front in that regard. And maybe it comes down to this too. Solidifying just what we're going to see from Tajay Spears, because it's not that he's not on the roster by any means. That's why I asked you the question. But he and Chikakonkwo, I think, are big pieces to the puzzle next year, whether you like it or not. And they're going to be factors that they're not going to be replaced in the offseason because they don't have enough. They don't have enough in the draft to go and replace those guys. And they're not going to invest a ton of money in running back if they can invest a ton of money in the offensive line, for instance, when they have Tajay Spears on a rookie contract. Again, just an example. Same thing at tight end. If they believe in Chikakonkwo and they're willing to give him another year, I don't think they try to go over unless they're going after Bowers. They're not going to go after or go over the top for Chikakonkwo. They need to really be making a turn towards the end of the year, over the second half of the season. And, we're already seeing Spears get his share. I wonder if he gets his share of just the offense now instead of just the share of the snaps.
I'm very curious to see how they use him down the stretch.
Yeah, and that's not directing the answer, I guess, to your question enough there. But I would just go to the vets that they brought in that were backups last year for good teams that have not been anything but just a steady guy who can come in and play for you if someone went down ahead of them, which is how the other teams treated them. And I haven't seen enough to say, yeah, they warrant more of a long-term, maybe 2-3-year contract.
Last one for you, Hutton. Will Levis was not out at practice yesterday, and Paul Kaharski tweeted that it was a super light walkthrough. But what is your concern level for Will Levis potentially this week and even for the rest of the season behind this offensive line?
My concern level is the same for any quarterback behind this offensive line.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. I mean, I think even Malik Willis was getting sacked on all of his career snaps, like 18.5% of the time he was taking a sack. It's just duck and cover is what it is. It's like the old tornado drill at my elementary school back in the day. The deal with Levis is he's going to be banged and bruised, and I mean, you want to talk about battle tested? This guy's going to take his lumps.
For real.
I think he plays. I think he's tough. Tannehill's tough too, and this is where it gets really just strange. Is if you go into a week where you don't know if we're going to see Levis or Tannehill play, based on injuries, and Tannehill's, if he's back there, he's going to get hurt again too. That's just it's how bad this O-line is, Caroline, to say, like, I'm concerned for any three of them. And because of that, they're not going to move the football. That's just what they are right now offensively. And the defense doesn't get the ball back. They don't set up the offense to where they're at least getting three. And even Nick Folk was having a bad day in Jacksonville because he wasn't needed. I mean, it's just, the offensive line is going to play a factor in any of these quarterbacks' health concerns. And most recently, it's Will Levis.
I mean, you're going to have to get to a point where you're putting Jeffrey Simmons in a quarterback at some point. Like this assembly line of quarterbacks that the Titans are probably going to go through with this lousy offensive line. Jonathan Hutton, Hot Mike with Hutton Withrow. Hut, appreciate you as always. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. We'll chat next week.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys. And I will say, one of my favorite things to watch right now is Simmons on offense, not because he's scoring touchdowns, but watching him target and dial in a guy that he's just about to waylay. It's one of my favorites.
It's got to be a bad feeling for that guy. Like, oh, boy,
Yeah, I know.
is he going to block me?
It was a
And
breath of fresh air. Like going
And if
through
you
all
hesitate on defense, you're going to be shown in the team meeting in the film room as well. You have to just go all in.
It was a breath of fresh air, though, on Sunday afternoon, looking through all of the melancholy post-game interviews. And then you hear Jeffrey Simmons saying, man, that was a dream come true. That was awesome. It was nice to hear at least a little bit of positivity in that locker room.
Just save it. Just save it for that moment should impact the game in some way. It did not in any way. That was my only criticism of that play call.
If you wait until you're pretty much completely out of the game to try and pull some tricks out of your bag and say, well, let's throw the defensive
Can they
tackle
not use
in.
that to beat the Panthers? Can we please beat the Panthers with that play?
Now that that's on film.
I'm sure there's more.
There's got to be.
There's got to be
He's
a
gonna
play.
throw
off
The
of
only
that
way
play.
this team can score is off trick plays.
Come on, bring it on.
He's going to throw it.
What's the next chapter?
He's
It was
gonna
like
throw
the
it to Malik
fridge back
Willis.
in 1985. You just kept waiting. What was Mike Ditka going to do next with the fridge? So he had all kinds of stuff. Fridge threw a pass. It was over.
Yeah.
Are we going to see Jeffrey throw a pass?
Never know.
You never know.
D-Mase has a couple of gadget plays in there, too.
Hey, I got a few. If you want to line me
A
up.
whole lot of back tricks.
Absolutely.
All right, Hutton,
They're
you are
offense
the
now.
very best.
Tricks.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Thank you.
Yep, same to
Happy
you, Hut.
Thanksgiving, Hutton. Appreciate you. Jonathan Hutton, he is the very best. You can check out Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on the Outkick Network. But coming up next, Willy Donick has joined the party. We're going to break down the question that I opened up the show with, the question that I asked D-Mase. Where is this fan base? Is it frustration or is it apathy? And does this fan base really care about winning games throughout the rest of the season? We'll get into that coming up next, and of course, your thoughts as well. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we're brought to you by Zen Sports. Start earning cash rewards on your bets today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Men, listen up. I need to tell you something about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne, along with that experienced and wonderful staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, including yours truly, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. So there's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle. Men, what are you waiting for? Get Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment. Here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458. Or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and D-Mase at Teddy's Tavern this Sunday from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. for our NFL pregame show. They will break down the Titans' Week 12 matchup against the Panthers and give you the latest updates before the game. Our NFL pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Beast Unleashed. Willy Donick has joined the party after morning skate. Willy, we started the show today talking about where the fans are at right now. Taking on the Carolina Panthers this weekend. The Panthers are the worst team in the league, and even though they're the worst team in the league, I still don't feel confident in picking the Titans to win this football game, Nissan Stadium or not. So the question is, do fans even really care about winning games throughout the rest of the season? We got one caller call in earlier and say, I don't get the big deal about this game, because if we lose, we get a better draft pick.
Yeah, I see D-Mace's point in if you lose to the Panthers, that doesn't send a very good message at all.
If you can't beat the worst team, then maybe you are the worst team.
So I still think the fan base is coming to grips with this. We're looking at the future.
Yeah.
It's now time to, how are you going to address rebuilding the team here? This window is closed. So sometimes the fans are a little late at least a portion of the fan base is late to grasp that.
Yeah.
But I think when you're sitting there and you paid your money for the seats and you're sitting in the stands, you want to beat Carolina. You want to win the game. And if you don't, then you really are looking at a boo fest kind of thing. If you lose to Carolina, I think it could get emotional there. But this is what I see sometimes too, which I think is going to be a challenge. They started to win after having a down cycle at the end of the malarkey, and then obviously from the time Mike Vrabel came in. They were relevant, right? They weren't a powerhouse right away, but they were getting winning records. They were in races. They got to playoff games. And it took a couple years for the fans to get back to where they had some apathy there for a while. And it was a lot of games there was a takeover by the other team, or you had a lot of empty seats, especially when the weather gets a little cold. That's what I'm looking for here is what do we see in the stands? Do people even show up? Like, some fans show up to boo, and you're like, well, that's not ideal, but they're showing up.
Yeah, right.
But they're showing up.
Yeah.
The real tough one is when you get big gaps of empty seats. And that's what was happening for a while in, the Ken Wisenhunt era, just to throw a couple years out there, where it was pathetic for a while. You could walk up and get tickets for $5 going in there, especially late in the year. So Thanksgiving weekend, where there's a lot of games going on, there's a lot of activities, what does the crowd look like? I think it's an important question.
But if people are showing up to boo, and if people
I don't have a problem with that.
Throwing stuff on the field
Yeah.
because they're so mad if the Titans lose to the Panthers, I think this team's still in a good shape. Because if people care enough to show up and to show their displeasure, then they care enough. It's when people stop caring. It's when you lose games and you're not feeling the emotion or the reaction from the fan base because they're just checked out. Apathy, I think, is the most dangerous place where a franchise's fan base can be.
Yep.
And I don't think we're there yet.
And they've been there before. But I don't think they're there yet, for sure. And I think there's an expectation. They've played well in that stadium. So if you've been going to games, you're like, well, I've had good experiences here, right? That's your experience this year. And you're playing a team 1-9, you're like, well, maybe I'll see them win. I think that's the expectation going in. Whereas if they were playing a powerhouse team, if they were playing the Chiefs or somebody like that, to be like, it's all underdog stance, right? It's like, I'm not expecting much here. Let's just see what happens kind of thing. But I think they're favored. This team has been favored in one other game this year, I think.
It's a 3.5-point favorite, too. That's just home field advantage.
Yeah.
That's where this team is at.
Yeah, you can't expect, because I go back to the last game, and to me, and I don't know if Titans fans felt this way, but to me, I thought that game last week versus the Jaguars, being a divisional game, it's still, if you win it, it gives everyone hope.
Right.
Like,
and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
You're looking
exactly.
for hope.
Exactly.
And then there's an extreme disappointment that the game is not competitive.
Exactly.
I think that's the last 2 weeks, is you went into the game thinking, okay, is there still something there? This is Mike Vrabel. This is a team that rallies. They get in the trenches and they fight. And you didn't really see a whole lot of that the last couple weeks. So it looks like I don't see a formula that you can win here.
No, Is there a formula
with the
for them to win?
offensive line?
With the offensive line, the way they're playing, I don't think the recipe or the formula to win doesn't even work anymore. Because in prior years, the formula to win, everybody knows. Give the ball to Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
and
play
then,
good defense.
Exactly, play good defense, get the ball to Derrick Henry, play action pass.
Yeah.
That's the formula to winning. So much so the other teams knew it too. Like, we got to stop Derrick Henry because once he gets going, it opens up everything for the Tennessee Titans from an offensive standpoint. They can't even rely on that now. They can't even go back to what their identity was, and identity has been since this team got here in '97. They can't even count on that. And I've never seen a year, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, especially Willy, because Willy was here. I left in 04, so Willy, you were still covering the Titans. I don't think there's ever been a year that I can remember that they couldn't say, one thing we can hang our hat on is running the football and playing sound defense. Now, defense had their up and down years, but no matter what, we can run the football, and this is what we're going to do. They can't do that now.
I can't remember a team that was any good that didn't have that mentality that you could run it. It all starts with the running game. We know the history of wide receivers for this franchise is thin, right?
Exactly.
So they've never had an air raid, air Coryell, whatever you know. That
no
label,
run and
that's
shoot
not,
got taken away the minute they came here.
Yes, absolutely.
This is, service academy kind of.
This is what I wonder about
identity.
too. When they're playing Carolina, what is Carolina's mentality? They're 1-9. They've been losing, but they're probably looking at this game going, "We might have a shot.
We could win this one.
We could win this." And that's the dangerous thing, because it's easy to look at it from the other perspective and say, "Wow, now they're playing a team that they should beat. They'll go out, they'll get Carolina, and then they'll try to go from there." But that's the dangerous thing, is like you've got a Carolina team that is trying to get something. They've got their quarterback. They're trying to get – you got a coach now that's trying to prove that he belongs. Like, that was a surprise hire.
Yeah.
Frank Reich, people were thinking maybe it should have been somebody else, and especially those people are looking at like, see, I told you, why is Frank Reich the coach? He's got to find some positive here. So you might get their best stuff. I don't know that you're going to get a Carolina team that's mailing it in. If Carolina was playing the 49ers, then I think it's kind of like, oh, boy. It's
Tuck our tail between our legs.
Right, but they're saying we could match up with this team. We might be able to win this game.
Yeah, they have
They don't have the first pick. It's not like they're playing for draft picks.
They're not tanking for Tua.
They're not tanking for anybody. This is a game that I believe that, I think both teams are sort of, in the same position from this standpoint. The Carolina Panthers are coming in, as you two just said. It's not like they're playing the 49ers or the Eagles or the Jaguars or some team that right now trending toward the playoffs. They go into that game saying, okay, man, this is going to be tough. Like, man, if we pull it out, great. If not, then, we're overmatched, basically. But this is a game they walk into and say, you know what? We got a chance to win this.
Yeah.
We can win this game.
And I fear that if you lose to the Carolina Panthers, apathy is coming. And if I'm Amy Adams-Strunk, with a stadium opening up here in a few years, trying to sell PSLs, trying to sell fans on the future, apathy is the most dangerous place for any franchise, but especially this franchise to be in.
I think it's still take a while, Caroline, for them. I'm hoping it would take more than just these prior two seasons for them to reach that apathy level. Because to me, every team has their down period, 2 years, maybe even 3. Some teams have longer than that, and we know who those teams are, and their fan base has that or had that but now don't. But I think it's going to take more than just a calendar year for the Titans fans to get to that point. Again, they can be disappointed, which they have every right to be disappointed. But I don't think they've reached that point. And I go back and I defer back to Willy. From 2012, well, really 2010 to
That's when it really
2018.
slipped.
And even in 2018, they were 9-7. Let's just go back to the malarkey years. 17, 16, 15, which he took over halfway through. Well, 3 or 4 games into
That
the
was
season.
the low. That was the low point.
That was a low point.
The Ken Wisenhunt thing. just didn't
Exactly.
go.
I think I think the Titans fans, because of the build-up, even to the wins and hunt, they developed apathy.
Right.
But then I think after that, once Malarkey showed that he was changing things, I think things started to change with the fan base.
And it took a while for everybody to get back in the stadium.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to take more than just the end of last season and this season for the fan base to get to that point. Now, they're going to be disappointed. They are going to be disappointed. Have every right to be. But the apathy part, I don't think they've reached. But if they have, that's not good for this Titans team.
I'm worried about this, too, because I saw this. Number one, you mentioned that period of time is where they started losing the PSL holders. The PSL holders were selling their PSL to ticket brokers, and you started really seeing other teams' fans just buy from the ticket brokers, and there was not a whole lot they could do about it. And there wasn't a whole lot of demand for the Titans fans to go because they weren't very good. And then they've been working through that. They've been working hard the last few years, and they've had a team that's been worth watching, right? And it hasn't been as big of a deal. We know around the league now, it's more common to see at least patches of the other team's fans.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm worried about now in this era. They're starting to roll out, well, here's what it's going to be in the new stadium. Here's a model of the new stadium. Here's what it's going to cost. We're going to start rolling out ticket packages and PSLs. And so you'll probably have, if you're going into a rebuilding situation, some fans that say, I'll just wait for the new stadium to open, and until then, I'm just going to save my money and I'm not going to go. I remember a lot of people telling me when you guys, Derek, were playing in Memphis and then at Vanderbilt, until the new stadium opens, I've got my PSL, I'm not going to go to Vanderbilt. And there weren't great crowds. Obviously in Memphis, it was a disaster, which is why they moved from the Liberty Bowl to Vanderbilt. And that's not a huge stadium. And it was still some games where there wasn't that great of a crowd. Like, you guys were not a bad team.
No, we weren't.
Pretty good team.
But it didn't seem like a home game.
No, that's for sure. But then as soon as that new one opened, it all just changed like that.
And that's when we talked earlier this week about, all the reports that we've heard. We saw Albert Breer. We heard John McClain saying it earlier on Chase and Big Joe that Amy Adams-Strunk loves Mike Vrabel. And our question was, until when? She loves Mike Vrabel, but everybody has a breaking point. If she starts to see empty stadiums, if she starts to struggle to sell PSLs for this next new stadium, that's when those things start to shift. When there is no buy-in or a lack of buy-in, I'll say, into this football team and you can't get butts in those seats. I think even when the team was good, there was a good portion of the fan base that thought, parking and traffic, I can just watch it at home. And that's when the team was good. That's when Derrick Henry was in his prime.
Yeah, you're fighting that no matter how good your team is in this day and age.
Yeah, and now you're fighting that in addition to a team that's underperforming and not winning football games. If I'm Amy Adams-Strunk, that's when the clock starts ticking, and I'm thinking, I need more. I need butts in those seats, Mike. Let's get your thoughts on it, because the question is about you, the fans. How are you feeling? Are you apathetic yet? Are you frustrated? Do you still have buy-in to this football team? We'll get your phones coming up next. 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. 1025-1063. The Game. We've all moved. We all know it's not very fun. We all know how stressful it can be, but I'm telling you that moving does not have to be stressful. Caroline Fenton here for my friends over at Black Tie Moving, and their trained and dedicated team at Black Tie Moving is there to ensure that they take the stress out of the process. And I moved with Black Tie Moving over the summer, and it truly was the easiest most stress-free experience. I had fantastic customer service from Black Tie Moving from the very beginning when I had a phone call with a professional moving consultant that gave me a free estimate. What they told me I could expect was exactly what I got, exactly the price, exactly the time that my mover showed up, and my move was so easy. The movers took care of everything, and they were incredibly respectful of my time, of my space, and of all of my things. They took great care of me and my things and my move. Truly cannot recommend them enough. So visit Black Tie Moving or blacktiemoving.com rather, or call 615-437-8401. That is 615-437-8401 and blacktiemoving.com. Be sure to mention the promo code GAME, GAME, to score 10% off of your next move with Black Tie Moving. Then sit back and enjoy the best move of your life. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. Tune into 102.5 and 106.3 The Game this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. for our college football game of the week. Vanderbilt against Tennessee, presented by Twin Peaks. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks for scenic views of all of the hottest college football games across the country and home of the 29-degree beer. The question of the day is for you, the fans. Where are you at? You apathetic? You still bought in? You're frustrated? You disappointed? Let's get into your phones, your thoughts. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have a thought, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. One texter texts in, says, apathy is completely here. There is no hope of things getting better. The way the season ended last year, and to see them come out with no improvement this year, how many times have the visiting team fans taken over Nissan Stadium in the last 5 years? Reasonable fans have lost hope. They're not spending time or money to go see this team play. I do have one thought on that text about visiting teams taking over Nissan Stadium. I think there's a part of that where it doesn't matter how good the Titans are.
Yeah.
That's always going to be the case.
It's becoming more
People
common.
want to come to Nashville. People want to come. They will look at the schedule for their team. Let's say you're a Green Bay Packers fan. You might look at the schedule at the beginning of the season and say, hey, Nashville, let's make a weekend of it. I think that's more so just part of the city than it is the team itself. But feeling like there's no really light at the end of the tunnel for a fan, and that's why you're feeling apathetic, I think that's fair. I get it.
Yep. And Carolina probably won't have a lot of people coming with their season going on. But when Cam Newton, and I remember when they were 15-1 and Cam Newton was leading into the Super Bowl, they had a lot of people came in. It was not a good Titans team at the time, and they had their fun. That's what's frustrating when you're one of those diehard fans that doesn't like that, and you see that takeover happening. It's frustrating. But like to your point, when the ticket brokers control the seats some, and that's something that they've tried to fight, but it's hard. That's who buys the tickets. That's who's willing to pay the top dollar. They're going to work it into their whole price, right? We're taking a weekend trip to Nashville. Whatever the tickets cost, let's just roll that in. That's what we're paying.
Like Bills on Monday Night Football, I was at that game, and this is 2021. Like, Titans are
It's a good
ultimately the
team.
top
Yeah.
seed in the AFC. I thought the stadium was 50-50 Bills fans, Titans
Hey,
fans.
Bill Mafia, they travel.
They are
They will
serious.
bully their way into the stadium. They'll find them some tickets.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, but again, you know, this fan base has a right to, you know, feel the way they feel because they've seen. If you paid attention to this team, you saw this coming, and you were just hoping that, listen, do something before it gets to that point. And again, I go back to, and I know this is in regards to the receivers. I go back to him saying, trust us.
Yeah.
Trust us. Okay, the fan base has trusted you. And this is what they are getting because of their trust. A team that has only won 3 ball games and looks as if they're not going to win many more. It can change, seen crazier things, but the likelihood of that changing is slim to none. They're going to play hard. Guys are going to play hard. I'm not going to sit here and say guys are not going to play hard because even when, you know, 4-12 seasons that I had, well, one season I was 4-12, and we've had some other seasons where we're 8-8. Guys didn't, even though we knew we were not more than likely making the playoff, guys didn't mail it in. Guys still went out there and performed to the best of their ability. So, I mean, guys are going to go out there and play hard, but, you know, the fan base is just looking at this. Some of them is looking at it from the standpoint of, like, listen, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel.
I get it. You're justified in feeling that way. Eric is on the line with a thought on the Tennessee Titans. What's up, Eric?
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, guys, here's my thoughts. I really thought before the season, I thought we were going to be a little bit better, and I thought if we had a shot to win the division with either 9 wins or maybe 10 wins, and the Jacksonville might take a little step back. I certainly did not envision this, guys. With the rest of the schedule, this game coming up, Carolina will probably be the only game we might be favored in. The Texans and the Colts might be a pick 'em, but the rest of the games I think will be an underdog because I don't think we're winning another road game, guys. But if you lose to Carolina, it really gets bad, guys. And it's going to be interesting the rest of the way since we've got 5 home games left. How many fans are going to be in the stadium? I'm going to be at least at 3 of the last 5 games because I've got things for Christmas while I kind of probably miss the Seattle and the Texans game, but I'm just going to be at the next 2 home games and the home finale. But it's going to be interesting to see, watch the holidays and the weather and all that type of stuff, what type of fan reaction is going to be at the games. The only thing we've got to bank on is the fact that we're 3-0, but we'll see what happens. Guys, y'all take care. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you again soon.
Eric, you're the best.
Thank you,
Happy
Eric.
Thanksgiving to you and your family. I get it. I totally understand. I don't know what to say other than however
it's
you
a new
feel.
level.
Yeah.
I get it.
And
Yeah.
somebody used the term Thelma and Louise if you lose to Carolina. You know, like you're on the cliff and you're right there, and then so it's already you're in
somebody to
trouble.
push
You're in
you over the
trouble, and so
edge.
it's like you lose to Carolina, it's just drive right off the cliff. It's a new low.
That's what I said earlier. Every single week, it feels like, man, we found a new low. We found
Yeah.
a new low. And then you found
That's
out
what
you
the
thought
folks
you
at,
had something after the Atlanta game.
Yeah, that's what the Delta House at Animal House searched for when they had the toga party, a new low.
You lose to the Panthers.
don't
That's a
think-
new low. That's a new low.
I don't
Yeah.
think the Titans are looking for a new low, but they just might find it if they lose to the Carolina Panthers. But
0.0.
let's not put that out there. I believe in the power of words. We're going to say they're going to win this game, and they're going to restore maybe a fraction, that small fraction of hope in the fan base. I'm going to put that out there. You know, y'all can jump on me if y'all want to, fan base. Say what you want to say, but I'm going to say I'm gonna put it out there.
I think that this team is too far beyond repair of words, D-Mase. But it's worth a shot.
Yeah, it's worth a shot.
It's worth a shot, and I respect you trying. All right, we have a weird week this week with the holidays, so we're going to get into silly underdogs coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, which today is Barrel House at Bridgestone Arena because the Predators are in action tonight. Puck drop at 7 o'clock against the Calgary Flames, and all of your pregame coverage will be right here on 102.5 and 106.3, the game starting at 6 p.m. But it is now time for Silly Underdog Picks, so I will send it over to our esteemed commish, Willy D. Willy D.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another week of Silly Underdog Picks 2023, brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gassing. This is your commissioner speaking. Happy Thanksgiving. As our tradition continues, the day before Thanksgiving, we make our picks. Because, of course, tomorrow we all take Turkey Day. But last full week of college football before it really turns interesting in our competition with our insiders here, because we have a limited week on championship week, and then we have the bowl draft. But unfortunately, I'm sad to say that there is a contestant that's running away with competition, just making a mockery
Commish, how you
of
doing?
the whole thing.
Hey, how you doing, Commish?
This is rigged.
I'm doing okay.
That's great, man.
But not as well as you, D-Mase. I'll tell you what, this is really something. So we've got our contestants lined up. I'm sure some are in good mood, some not so much. So let's quickly recap before we introduce our competition. Let's get to the contest, starting with the online. Busy week last week, and a lot of underdogs won. In fact, the biggest one, perhaps, was New Mexico State's stunning upset of Auburn. It wasn't a close last-second win either. They won. They went down there and won.
They whooped their butts. And I'm thinking, New Mexico State was my second option, actually.
I'm sure. Yes.
Yeah, all week long I was thinking about it.
5 people in our competition online took New Mexico State. So congratulations to those 5. Wow. The most popular pick was North Carolina against Clemson, 21%. You could see that one for sure. Also 21% took Appalachian State. We're going to talk more about them in just a moment. So those were the 2 most popular. And yes, 18% did take Tennessee and went down with the orange ship.
It was fun for the first couple of seconds.
Yeah,
it would look good there at the beginning.
Yeah, it was about all she wrote, though.
Yes. And so we did have an online contest winner, and I will tell you that in just a moment as I click on the correct information here. Where did it go? I had it right in front of me. We'll get back to that in a moment. Let's go ahead and tell you how the insiders did last week. Chris Sanders. Chris, are you present and accounted for right now, or is this Dwayne?
Yeah, this Dwayne, man. Chris is upset, man.
I could tell right away.
Yeah,
Chris Sanders selected.
Every game I'm being close. I mean, every game.
All right, Chris, so here's where I'm sitting, okay? BYU is your pick. 24-point dog at home against Oklahoma. The Predators have an afternoon game on Saturday against Chicago. I roll in during intermission. I haven't watched any college football. It's in the middle of the game. And on the screen is BYU with the ball, tied 24-all, driving in the fourth quarter against Oklahoma. I'm thinking, this could be the week. Chris is going to get back in this competition.
No.
And so I had to go back to the broadcast center, and then later I find out Oklahoma pulled it out 31-24. Chris, what happened? You had it.
Man, I was upset, man. I was getting ready to have my speech ready about the cheering and everything. I mean, it was just – I looked at the game, and it was 24-24, and actually I was doing some commentating, and next about 2 minutes later I saw that they lost, so I was kind of upset.
Oh, no.
It was awful. I mean, it was awful.
Nobody – because you're trying to win for the kids. You know,
it was
for the
kids. Cheering.
Hey, Dwayne, nobody cares, man. Let's move on. Goodness gracious.
Kelly is not holding a pity party.
Oh, my God.
Not holding a pity party. All right, so that brings us to Caroline Fenton. Looking for a win out west with Nevada. An 11.5-point dog at Colorado State. Once again, this is Caroline's theme for the year. Got the cover, but not the win. So that is you're close, but this is the competition.
This is silly cover dog picks, right?
This is not silly cover dog. So I don't know. I did not see the game. I don't know if Nevada was right in there.
I did not watch the game. I actually kind of forgot for a minute which game I picked.
It's probably softens the blow a little bit, right?
A little bit, yeah. At least I'm not an Auburn fan.
Now, meanwhile, Plaz had a book it and selected Kansas. Went strong. Said this is going to happen. 8-point dog against Kansas State. They had the lead in the fourth quarter. right there. Kansas State scores the touchdown in the fourth and wins at 31-27. Plaz, your thoughts?
A little bit bitter.
Wow.
It looked really good through 3 quarters.
However, Willie, not to the level of Kelly, who has just turned into a curmudgeon.
Kelly stinks, man. I don't want to hear about all these sob stories, man. Let's just talk about it and move on. Who cares? I mean,
Why we even got to talk about it? I don't even think we need to talk about it.
I'm with not even talking about it, Chase. I'm kind of with you.
Like, this game sucks now. Like, it's not fun anymore. It's fun for one person, and that's it.
Well, you might
Willie,
be able to figure out.
Willie,
Yes, George.
What makes that worse is Derek's lack of sportsmanship.
Yes.
What is this teaching the youth of America?
Yeah. We're gonna get to Derek in a minute.
He
learned
learned that kind of sportsmanship in Baltimore. He definitely didn't learn that here.
You might anticipate the outcome of Chase's game based on his attitude. He had Tennessee, a 10-point dog at home against Georgia. Chase, give me your thoughts, your emotions when Tennessee ran the 75-yard touchdown to jump out of the gate fast. Nealon's going, upset in the making. Where were you?
Oh, I was feeling like, all of the 100,000-plus Vols fans that were probably drunk off their you-know-what in Knoxville and feeling pretty good. But then it all went away.
Kaput. Yeah, 38-10. The stands were not full at the end of the game, I would have to tell you.
Not.
So Chase drops one. Kelly up next. Solid pick, North Carolina, 7-point dog at Clemson. Kelly, do I even need to say what happened? I know you want. I know. Move on.
I mean, let's just move. I mean, like, can a team implode like North Carolina? Everybody was talking about them at the beginning of the year, and now they suck.
Clemson wins at 31-20 and holds serve at home. Then we get to D-Mase. Already a commanding lead. Kelly was the one guy that was right there looking to move up, chipping away at it. He took Appalachian State, 9-point dog against undefeated James Madison, who had just been snubbed by the NCAA and told you can't go to a bowl game. So they're trying to complete an undefeated season. Appalachian State pulls it out in the final play, 26-23. It was overtime, right? Was it overtime that they ran it in?
Yep.
So D-Mase picks up 9 more points.
I mean,
good on
whatever,
with it.
D-Mase, whatever.
What else should I thought about last night preparing my victory speech because I can't prepare it now. I can't do that right now. I thought about it.
I thought you could do that after week 1.
I could have, but
start with Coach Prime.
Yeah, I thought y'all were gonna at least give me a run for my money or something.
No.
But unfortunately for y'all,
Clearly not.
Y'all didn't. So I just want to say, y'all suck. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say. I
That's fair.
I love every one of y'all,
come on,
but
baby.
y'all suck.
It's Thanksgiving, dog. I agree.
So the standings
Again,
after
Willie, I want to make clear that Derek will not be winning the OVC Sportsmanship Award.
Hey, Plaz, I see you Monday, okay? I see you Monday.
You know what? I'm going to wear your butt out at bowl.
So the standings after a dozen weeks of play, D-Mase with 59.5 points and 5 wins. Kelly in second with 26.5. Caroline with 10. Plaz 6. Chase 3.5. And Mr. Sanders.
3.5.
Hey.
I have 3.5. I've hit one freaking game.
Mister. Call me Dwayne, mister.
Dwayne, if you would like to let Chris know, he's 0-12.
God, he hasn't won a game.
He has not.
You are worse than the Carolina.
But it's a new week.
My participation trophy. I'm good. That's all I need. That's all I need.
You say it.
But it's all new this week. We got a new opportunity. So if we start week 13 with Caroline Fenton.
Rivalry week. It's my favorite week of the college football season. Give me Florida over Florida State. 6.5-point dogs at home.
Ooh.
2 backup quarterbacks.
That is an interesting pick. Florida State, the disappointment, got passed on the voting already, so the statement has kind of been made of we don't think you're going to be in the playoffs. Could be deflating.
could be deflating. The starting quarterback got injured. Brutal
Yep.
injury last
Oh,
weekend.
boy.
In the swamp, at night, tough place to play.
Okay, all right.
Florida playing for a bowl game.
So Florida, a 6.5-point dog at home against Florida State. By the way, a shout out to Corey Quarles. He is our winner this week on the online contest. Hails from Clarksville. So Corey, well done last week. So maybe some pointers for the group here. All right, on to Plaz for the second pick of the week.
Willie, it is simply South Carolina.
Yeah. No.
Simply not.
No.
South
No,
Carolina
no.
is a 7-point home dog taking on their in-state rival, Clemson. Clemson 7-4,
there a
Carolina
problem?
5-6. A win makes them eligible for postseason play.
What, George?
Kelly, is there a problem?
Well, last year I picked it and I picked right, but this year you have no shot. So good pick by you.
Oh, it has a shot, big boy.
No, nah.
But not a book it this week.
Why don't you take Vandy?
Chris will do that.
They're on the board.
Oh wow. Wow. That was one of my picks, though.
That brings us to Chase McCabe for pick number 3.
Yep, that's what we're doing. 3.5 points. I picked one game right this year.
1 up, 11 down.
Yep. So none of this matters. It just is.
But you're not far from third, if you can look at it that way. You could still get on the medal stand.
Always the glass half full. I appreciate that, Willie.
Good job, Willie.
I don't believe this, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Give me Oregon State plus 13.5.
Ooh, I like it.
I think that's going to be an interesting game. And he refers to the Civil War.
Yes.
The Civil War. Oregon State is a 13.5-point dog playing at Oregon, who is 10-1, and Oregon, of course, still angling, trying to stay in the picture for a playoff spot, perhaps, if they can win this game and then beat undefeated Washington in the title game. Oregon State gave Washington a pretty good go, but this is on the road here. Oregon State 8-3.
We need a bad game from Bo Nix for the Heisman race.
Yeah, a lot going on there. Winning at Oregon's not ever easy, but the Civil War always has some stuff going on.
It's always weird.
I think Jonathan Smith is probably going to be mentioned for some other jobs too. From Oregon State. So.
We move on to Kelly Holcomb, currently in second place, and he has an uphill climb, 33 points behind the leader.
We can skin a buck and run a trot line, and a country boy can survive. Country folks can survive. Country boy can survive. Country folks can survive.
How about them Titans?
Tighten up.
Hey, Willie, thank you for being Captain Obvious. I've got an uphill climb. Thanks for that.
Yes, uphill
really
climb.
Didn't need that. Yeah, thanks. You know what? There's 3 teams in the Sun Belt that it comes down to this last weekend, and I'm gonna go against JMU again. I'm gonna say Coastal Carolina beats them at home.
The shots.
They
That
win.
is
They got
weird.
a shot to be in the Sun Belt Championship. There's 3 teams: Georgia Southern, them, and Appy State.
So, coming off the big win, Appalachian State. So, who are you taking again?
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina. They are a 9-point dog as they take on James Madison. So, trying to take advantage of JMU for a second straight week. Coastal Carolina.
Might be a week too late.
Maybe.
Just saying. Just saying.
We're going to find out.
They got everything to play for, though. If they win, they're in the championship.
That's right. And James Madison they can't go, right? This is it.
Can't
This is their
go.
last game no matter what.
They're going to play an inter-squad game for their bowl game. That's what they're going to do.
Intramural.
Intramurals. All right, that brings us to D-Mase with the commanding lead, trying to add to it.
Boy. Go green, go white. That's right. That's my slogan. I love it. Mantra. I love it. Boy, oh boy. You know what? I'm going to give y'all a chance.
Real quick, we have just gotten evidence that Derek Mason has been stealing signs all
No
year.
way.
And therefore he is disqualified from the competition.
Derek Stallions.
Oh, my goodness.
Chase, is this? Can you bring evidence to the commissioner's
Yes.
office?
Yes.
There needs to be evidence.
Yes. Zach Pillar
Hardcore-
brought in evidence that
Hardcore
Derek
evidence.
Mason
What is
was
going on in the
stealing-
state of Michigan? My goodness, you people and your sign stealing.
Hold on, Derek. Is this? You're laughing this off. Is there any truth to this?
There's no truth to it whatsoever.
Derek's
Sure.
The
Eagle.
validity
Says
of
that.
these claims are very, very, very low.
That's what Jim Harbaugh said too.
Derek's,
Yeah,
what
he
they
did
all
say
say
that.
when they get
Would you like to
into a
issue a
corner.
statement like he did?
Derek's pet eagle has been stealing signs.
You got them eagle eyes.
That's right. That eagle could be capable.
Oh boy, you know what, man? It's just men and women. It's just it's gotten to a point where I think I have to go here now, just so allow y'all to at least try to get some points. I am going with the Pearl Cone Firebirds over the Tomcats of Haywood. Okay, that's where I'm going. Pearl Cone, baby. Pearl Cone Friday night at 7:00. I'm going with the Pearl Cone Firebirds to
Coach-
beat Haywood. Okay,
Coach
That's
Tony
where I'm
Brunetti?
going. That's where I'm going. I'm going Pearl Cone to win. That's where I'm
Okay.
going.
Hey,
fellas.
Derek.
Do you have a line on this game?
There's no line.
One and a
That's
half.
1.5.
Yeah.
It's a pick'em.
It's a pick 'em. I'm going with Pearl Cone just to give y'all an opportunity to win.
I am
and I
shocked.
still think Pearl Cone's going to win. So, but
Hey,
no.
Willie,
Yes, George.
is there any chance he can get Connor Stallions as a celebrity bowler?
Hey, George. I just want to let you know that the last time I threw a bowling ball, I scored 170. So Willie can attest to that.
Yes, I did see
He
that.
saw
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So
but
my
what-
game is tight.
But
now.
what did you score in the first game?
Oh, we don't
before
care about
that?
the first game. We're not talking about the first game, Chase. We're talking about the second game when my rotator cup got worn. 170. 170.
D-Mase had to go in the injury tent.
But no,
Came back better than ever.
I'm picking my Spartans over Penn State.
Oh, I had written down Pearl Cone. I'm sorry.
Well, you can put Pearl Cone too. I know. Hey, you can put Pearl Cone too. I do believe Pearl Cone's going to win
Okay.
Friday night.
Hey, shout out to Tony Brunetti.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're taking Michigan State, a 21-point dog,
Yes. Over
versus
Penn
Penn
State.
State.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
You
And
know
we will
that
look into
game
the
is
science.
at Willie. That game's at Ford Field. Boy, those people in Detroit. How lucky are they to get a Michigan State home game?
It is at Ford Field. It actually is.
Yeah. There you go.
On NBC.
That's why we're going to win.
Okay, so a very interesting pick, and then these allegations of Stein stealing. We will have to look into this.
Hey, y'all got to bring me some evidence.
Yeah, open up
This
an
is an
investigation.
epidemic.
I got
Yeah,
evidence.
y'all got to bring me some evidence, man. Y'all can't be throwing out these false claims. You know, I'm getting a lawyer. I'm lawyering up, okay?
Lawyer up.
I'm a lawyer up, okay? Willie, can you be my lawyer? No, you the commissioner.
I'm the commish. I cannot have to. I have to.
No
Yeah.
colluding with the
Yeah.
commissioner.
I'm going to get somebody to be my lawyer.
All right. In the meantime, let's see if Chris Sanders
Oh,
slash
here we go,
Dwayne
baby.
can get his first win of the season.
We can't pick a winner.
Oh wow! Oh wow! That's
Oh, poor
It's
Dwayne.
everybody
Go ahead,
else
Dwayne.
versus
Poor
Dwayne.
Dwayne.
hey. Where do I pick up my participation trophy at? That's all I need.
We're not giving those out.
we don't get those out here.
We're not giving out participation
Hey,
trophies.
there's one winner and 5 other losers on this competition.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's how it is.
But here's my pick, and you can call this a book it. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds good.
It
I'm
never
going
works.
With, I'm going with Stanford over Notre Dame.
They do that all
Let's
the time.
go.
They do it all the time.
Yes. 26. No, that's 28.
Chris, no, it is not.
What is it?
Oh, sorry, you were right. I thought that you were embellishing a little
Well,
bit. It is 26.
No,
I'm sorry, Chris.
I'm going to go from last to second.
That could happen. Stanford is a 26-point home dog
They always
against
they
Notre
always
Dame.
do that. They always, pull off the big victory.
Hey, did you guys, speaking of Notre Dame, did you guys see what Dave Clawson said about Notre Dame and Sam Hartman? They said you rented him for a year. We loved him.
Oh,
Talking trash.
Times are different.
Oh, yeah.
With these grad transfers and NIL and stuff like that. Ooh, it is very interesting. Okay, let's recap the picks.
Hey, Willie, hold on a second.
What do we got, Plas?
Well, we've got new information.
Oh.
The Christmas parade has invited Derek and Connor Stallions to be a part of it, and they will be the grand marshals of the cheater float.
Nice.
The float going down Broadway. Oh, that would be a great thing.
My goodness.
You, Connor Stallions, Will Wade.
Yes. All three of us.
Whoa, we had to bring Will into this.
What will Wade do?
Will Wade's just chilling, hanging out with his family, and bam, here he goes.
Okay, let's recap the picks for Week 13 as we get ready for Turkey Day. Caroline Fenton with the first pick selects the Florida Gators, a 6.5-point home dog against Florida State. Both teams playing the backup quarterbacks. We'll see if Florida State has a letdown after the tough news that their quarterback is out for the rest of the season. Plaz goes into the state of South Carolina and takes the Gamecocks, a 7-point dog against the Clemson Tigers. Chase McCabe goes out west to the Civil War and selects the Beavers of Oregon State, a 13.5-point dog on the road at Oregon. Kelly Holcomb goes into the Sun Belt and selects Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, a 9-point home dog against James Madison, who just suffered their first loss of the season. Derek Mason selects two teams. He first selected the Firebirds of Pearl Cone playing in the playoffs against Haywood. Good luck to Pearl Cone, by the way. We want them to get the victory, but he is going to officially take his Michigan State Spartans, 21-point dogs against Penn State, and basically he has lapped the field, so he's just coasting. He doesn't even care. And then finally, Chris Sanders, maybe the biggest drama between now and the end of the season. Can Chris Sanders get in the win column? The defending champion is 0-12, and he selects the Stanford Cardinal, a 26-point home dog against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Remember, you can make your picks this weekend. Hey, have the turkey, jump on the computer, and make your 3 picks. It'll make the weekend even more fun. Just go to thegamenashville.com. Our contest brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Hose and Gasket, if I can say it right. That's Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Those are our picks, ladies and gentlemen, for Week 13. Everybody, have a great Turkey Day, and good luck.
Hey, great. You have a great Turkey Day, too.
Hey, guys, I love y'all, but I wish y'all nothing but
that
bad
took way
luck
too long,
in the,
Willie. Let's
silly underdogs, okay? I hope
Willie,
y'all
that
lose,
took way
y'all.
too long,
I hope
man.
y'all
Can we
continue to
tighten it up
lose.
next week?
Hey, Chris, I hope you don't win a game. I hope you don't, okay? But I love you. You know, I hope you have some good turkey. I hope you have some. Don't let the turkey be dry, okay? Juicy turkey, all right, Chris? Juicy turkey.
All right, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thankful for all of you except for Derek.
Exactly.
All right, well, coming up next, we've got some people that are whining, and we will discuss coming up next. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase were brought to you by Zen. Must be 21 or older and in Tennessee to bet.
Predators were going for it late. They had pulled Saros, and they had a 6-on-5. How many times have you seen a team score 6-on-5?
It happens.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot, right? I mean, it happens.
Yeah, when they scored, I was like, oh, damn it. But I
Right.
wasn't freaking out. And then,
because you still get a point out of it, you're going to overtime.
And then
Makar blows a tire.
Then the number one star in the National Hockey League this past week, a defenseman who is amongst the very top scoring leaders in all of the NHL, including forwards. One of the, would you say, top 3 players on planet Earth today?
Sure.
Blows a tire. First of all, goes off the glass with it, which is a mistake. But you can see what he was trying to do. And 99 times out of 100, he's going to accomplish what he set out to do, and that's bang it off the glass, chase it into the corner, give yourself some space because your skating is fine, and chase the puck up the boards and get it out, and we're going to overtime. But not all rinks are created equal, and that stupid-ass rink, in between every pane of glass, they have a divider that connects the panes of glass. Some rinks have what's called seamless glass that fit together like that.
They've got the old school.
They've got the more old school, especially at the Zamboni entrance there at the end of the rink where they've got the big dividers. So when you throw a puck off the glass, it can do unpredictable things. And he had the angle. It wasn't a dead-on straight angle off the glass. It was a side angle, but it hit the side of the divider and bounced literally straight back out and popped in front of the net.
Yeah.
And what the hell are the odds of that happening? The best player on planet Earth, perhaps, throws it off the mother trucking glass and it bounces straight the hell out front in the crease? You gotta be kidding me.
Wah, 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 wah.
The mother trucking.
That is what I was going through my head the whole time I listened to that was wah, wah, cry me a freaking river. That was Mark Moser, who does play-by-play for the Colorado Avalanche, and he also does sports talk radio in Denver as well. So let's go back. This was Monday night. Of course, the Predators host the Colorado Avalanche. 2 goals, just a few seconds apart. The go-ahead goal for the Predators to beat the Avs 4-3. And that is the reaction. Now we're getting to the point where we're complaining about the construction of the arena and the placement of the boards. Cry me a river. Some cheese with that wine. My goodness.
I've known Mark a long time. He's a funny guy, and he is, as you might be able to tell, a little bit of a showman. And even not only in a radio setting like that, but even in play-by-play, he can do that. So I don't even know really if he's being serious when he does that or not, but it was funny how that got back. It's sometimes you think you're talking to your own audience,
right,
and everybody's going to like, yeah, you know, the rink, that's too
yeah,
bad.
Screw the rink.
But it does kind of, people in Nashville can be aware of these things, and so it's like a little disrespectful, I would say.
Yeah.
And just for the record, Bridgestone Arena, back when it was originally called Nashville Arena, they did have the seamless glass. The reason that you take out the seamless glass, because the reason they put in the seamless glass, because it used to be every arena had the seams to connect the glass. They took it out. They came up with a new thing so the fans could see diagonal a little bit more through the windows. But the problem was the glass would break a lot. And it was a lot harder. And so the hits with players' helmets hitting the seamless glass were causing a little more likelihood of bad things happening, injuries with shoulders and concussions and things like that. So they went back to the old school. And I would venture to say there's a ton. I don't want to put a number on it, but there's a ton of rinks that have the dividers between the glass. Nashville's not the only one. So to single out the rink, that's a little crazy. And again, I've known Mark for a long time. He might just be goofing off there, but to put it on that, like Cale Makar.
How does that affect the players, though?
Well, what it does is when the puck hits back there, there is a little bit of randomness when the puck's going around.
But isn't there a little bit of randomness?
It could hit one of those.
Oh, it could hit one of the dividers.
They hit one of the dividers and kick out in a different
Okay.
direction.
Okay.
And that's kind of what happened, but Makar was having trouble from the start. And Makar, he had 3 assists. He's an ungodly player. He's unbelievably good. But in this particular case, he goes back to get the puck. He juggles it. He gets behind the net. He wipes out as he tries to bank it back, and he hit the divider, and it bounced. And Cole Smith and Yakov Trener were all over it, and they jumped on it, and they scored. So it was a 1 in 100 kind of play, especially for a player of that caliber in Makar. But he messed up. I don't think Cale Makar is gonna blame the rink.
I hope not.
He's not going to go there. So
I don't think players in that situation, you can't go to the exterior and start blaming things on the outside, for your lack of winning a game.
Yeah.
Well, the announcer probably can do it, all day, and we don't know if he was serious about it or not. But as players, you don't think about stuff like that. It's not like, oh, well, the ice was, mushy, or the ice wasn't the way it was supposed to be.
In certain days, certain rinks, those things are factors, right? It's just like when you play on a football field where the turf is not great.
But that's everybody got to play on it. It's not just this one person.
It's the same for both teams.
Exactly.
I think it's just such a lame excuse. If it is, that's really is what the narrative is. That's so lame. You could have had every opportunity to win that game, and you're going to put it on a seam in the boards. Really? And also, hockey's weird like that. Like, physics can play a massive role where a skate can be in the wrong place at the right time, and it might just tip up. How many times has that happened?
It's happened a lot.
Where it comes off a
their own guy.
skate, goes off a board, goes off the pipes in the net. Like, weird things happen all the time where sometimes physics just are not on your side. Like, Cale Makar is not the only player on the ice on Monday night that's working with the boards, all right? Everyone's working with the same boards. And to put it on, hey, this is the best player on planet Earth, and if it wasn't for that godforsaken arena, he would have been just fine. It's so silly.
Yeah, I got a chuckle out of that, so I don't know. But I like Mose. He's a good guy.
I'm sure he's a great guy.
Yeah. But come on, man. Give the Preds a little bit of love for beating. They didn't beat the Avs last year. They went 0-4 against Colorado, so that was a big win, and that sort of brings them where they are today. They're hoping that can springboard them into something else. Andrew Burnett said exactly that. I used the word catapult. I'm hoping that a win like that can catapult us to something more. And so that's the key. You don't want that to just be a one-time thing. They've now won the last two. They're feeling a little more confident. They've lost Cody Glass. He's not going to play tonight. He got hurt during the minutes that led up to that great drama. With about 2.5 minutes to go, he got hit awkwardly. He skated right off the ice during play. It was hard to even notice it because all the frenzy was happening. But he's not ready to go tonight. Yeah, there was a lot going on there. And no whistles. It was total chaos. They also are going to get Ryan McDonough back, and they are going to take out Dante Fabro, which is an interesting thing because Andrew Burnett said it's not because Fabro isn't playing well, but they've got some competition going on. They've also got Luke Shen, who is on the verge of coming back here soon. So they got a numbers issue on D, and they're going to have some tricky decisions, and he's going to call it a competition. It's who's playing the best. We're going to take a look at Spencer Stastny, he said. Stastny, by the way, has played 2 very, very good games. If you notice, Spencer Stastny has brilliant speed. He can get up and down the ice as well as anybody. Doesn't have a ton of skill to score yet. That's maybe the next level to see if he can turn that speed into a little more offense. But his ability to cover the real estate, get up in the rush, and get back on D, he's doing some good penalty killing, so he's getting the nod tonight over Fabro, and that's going to be something they're going to have to manage here. But I guess it's a good problem if you've got more than 6 good defensemen. They're about to have another one when Shen becomes eligible to come off.
How do you think that plays on a player when, it said it's not because of your play? I heard Jared talking about that last night with Trotzy, decisions on bringing guys up, bringing guys back, young guys, not necessarily because they're playing bad, but because you want to give another guy an opportunity. As a former player, I guess it can work in a sport like hockey, but if you start doing stuff like that, say in football or basketball, baseball even, that doesn't sit well, especially on young guys when they know they're doing the things that you're asking them to do.
It's delicate. I think in football, where it's 16 games, it's very hard to do that. 82 games for an NBA or an NHL season, maybe it's a little easier, but it can't be easy for Dante Fabro, right? Because remember last year, what was the talk all year last year? Fabro, last year of his contract. Are they going to trade him?
Leaning toward maybe moving on from Dante Fabro.
He earned another contract. New coaching staff, new GM comes in, and they will be the first to tell you. They've been impressed with Fabro. He's played well. He's played with Roman Yossi. So it's got to be tough news for him to be the odd man out tonight. There's probably other moves that they could make, and I don't think it's going to – my speculation is it might just be one game, and then they'll move on and do something different. But he's got to look out for – he's got to earn a contract for next year, right? And he can't do that by sitting out. So that's tough for him. He's going to have a good attitude and kind of put his personal feelings aside for the team right now. That's not easy, right?
Yeah, it's not. But I the way you explained it, because there are 80-some games in a season, one game may not mean all that much. Now, if you do that in football, we're talking about 17 games, and you're taking one game away from me. That's not sitting well.
Right.
But obviously Trotzy and coach know what they're doing, and you just hope that Fabro take it as okay. All right, I understand. When I get back in there, I'm going to continue to prove to y'all that I deserve to be in the lineup each and every night.
Yeah, and then it's going to be even more complicated when Shen comes back. And, who knows, maybe somebody else will get hurt. That is what's happening. For example, Evangelista gets back in there because Glass is hurt. So Yuso Parsonen is going to move up. Parsonen, it's what a huge opportunity for him. He's got no points in the last 10 games. He's been a little better the last couple games, but they desperately need some production from him. But now they have no other choice. He's in there. And Evangelista, they don't have any more healthy forwards, so the little reset button, okay, here we go. You're back in there.
Preds are in action tonight against the Calgary Flames. Puck drop at 7 o'clock. Bavarian Beer House is Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, and it's also a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. So enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last.
To tell you about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne and that wonderful and experienced staff give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you to the medical care that you require to have a healthy and enriched life. So there's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle going into Thanksgiving, man. So listen up. You need to give Cool Springs MD a call today. Dr. Jeffrey Lodge, here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458. Or visit the website at coolspringsmd.com.
comes the money.
And you can take that to the bank.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Time to take it to the bank, presented by F&M Bank, customer community F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. At F&M Bank, their mission is to make lives better by making banking easier. So visit one of their 20 locations throughout Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky, or online at myfmbank.com. So normally we take it to the bank on a Friday afternoon, but we're out the next 2 days for the Thanksgiving holiday, so we take it to the bank today. Before we take it to the bank this week, how did we do last week, Nick? I know I had a dud.
Yeah, Caroline, I had to really bring out the calculator for yours. There was like 4 different rushers for Tennessee, and it did not equal out for you.
So whenever the first half ended, I think Joe Milton had like 28 passing yards, and they had that 75-yard touchdown to open up the game. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take it to the bank. But then they couldn't run the ball the rest of the game.
No, after Jalen Wright had his house call at the start of the game, it was kind of crickets from the Tennessee offense.
Yeah, and in totality. Really.
Yeah, so Joe Milton had 147 on the day, and for the Vols rushing as a total for a team, 130. So, yeah, unfortunate there. I'm going to give that a 2. Willy over here had Tajay Spears over 90.5 rushing and receiving.
Come on.
Willy, it was 26.
They didn't give him the ball. They never gave him the ball.
He had
Well,
two-
of course, they only ran like 30-something plays.
He had 2 rushes and 2 receptions. Not great. And then you also had a Preds goal score. That did not happen as well.
I went with the D-man again.
Didn't work.
You know, the good thing about it was Dante Fabro. There's something on the weekends. He got a point, got an assist on the weekend. So
you're trying to soften the blow. It didn't happen. It didn't hit the back of the net.
All of our commissioners are such glass half full optimists, and I do appreciate that.
I didn't get it done. I had no get-it-done-tivity.
No, you didn't.
As for D-Mase, ding, ding, ding. You had Carson Beck over 250 yards passing and Brock Bowers to have a touchdown. Both of those happened, so ding, ding, ding.
There we go. Oh, man, I'm doing so great. I had a great, weekend. Silly underdogs. Pick it, man.
It's a roll.
Take
We're
it to
on
the
a roll.
bank. I'm on a roll, man.
On a roll.
Goodness.
Call him Butter.
As
Because he's on a roll.
As for myself,
I'm
I had
so smooth.
C.J. Stroud, 300 yards passing with 2 touchdowns, and if Nico Collins played, he would get a touchdown. Nico Collins did not get a touchdown, and I do believe I'm double-checking my stats as we speak, so bear with me, but I'll check it here later. But as for everybody that participated, we'll go with D-Mase to go first for his picks, so go ahead.
All right. My pick is this. I'm going to stay in the high school level, okay? I am going to pick again. I'm going with Pearl Cone, the
Stillman's
Firebirds.
judging you here.
The Firebirds. I went to Pearl Cone earlier this week. Had a chance to visit over there. Their AV production set. It is awesome. And when I mean awesome, it is awesome over there at Pearl Cone. So, Pearl Cone, they play Haywood Friday, 7 o'clock. So I'm picking Pearl Cone to win by more than 10 points.
So, D-Mase, you're making me go on the internet on Max Preps to get the final
you got to
score.
go on Max Prep.
That's
man.
all right. That's fine.
You know what? I'm going to be at the game. So I will text you after the game's done so you don't have to look through it, okay?
Please
Our
do.
official boots on the ground reporter.
Boots on the ground. So, yes.
Derek
and
Mason.
I'm picking tonight the Preds will win by a goal. They will win
All right.
tonight.
Okay.
All right. As for Willy, go ahead.
I am going to keep
Laughing
it
at
simple.
Jared over there.
Keeping it simple tonight. Keeping it simple for my pick. I've got to get back to the basics. I'm just going to go with one thing and one thing only. I am going with the Buckeyes. Ohio State straight up to beat Michigan and Jim Harbaugh,
America's
who will be
team.
wired in. I want a Harbaugh cam. He's going to be wired in. He's going to be doing something, sending smoke signals to his coordinators. You know he's going to be trying to get around the rules and get involved somewhere. He's not golfing. It's all up front. He might be sitting in the stands.
You never know.
But, I hope he is because the Buckeyes are going to go into Michigan and win straight up.
I like it.
Okay, Caroline, go
I
ahead.
like it. All right. I got a little bit of a two-parter. I'm going to take both Jaden Daniels and Jalen Milroe to each have at least one rushing and at least one passing touchdown this weekend.
Interesting. Okay.
What you got, Nick?
Okay. Well, let me just put it this way. The last week's pick did hit 336 for 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
So there's that. This week.
All right.
This week is interesting. I'm gonna call it the turkey trifecta. Amon-Ra St. Brown to score a touchdown. I'm also gonna take the Lions to win, and then a big man touchdown in any of the games over the holiday weekend. So that is
Big
my
man
trifecta.
touchdown. Okay.
So what kind of big man are we talking?
We're
like a
talking-
Jeffrey Simmons?
Yeah, defensive
Offensive
lineman,
or
offensive
defensive
lineman.
lineman? Okay.
Yeah,
A thick six, if you will?
a thick 6. I love that, Caroline. Coin it. But yes, some sort of big man touchdown. If the jersey doesn't fit over the belly button, that's a big man touchdown.
I like it.
I like it.
All right, Titans predictions.
How about Big 98? We'll get the ball one time. That would be a fun one.
He will block on both sides of the ball.
Okay.
Yes.
I would just love to see the next chapter in that. Come on. They got to get it done here, right?
Yeah. They got to get it done. So what do you do?
Why would I pick this team to win? My goodness.
I'm picking them. Come on.
I think
They
the
gotta get it
Panthers
done.
win it on a walk-off field goal.
Oh, wow. I'm picking the Titans to win 27-10.
Ooh, okay. A little at-home magic.
17-10 Titans. Derrick Henry 2 rushing touchdowns.
I'm,
All right, I'm
going,
gonna take
I'm going 13-12.
I'm going to go 17-14 Panthers, and that is going to do it for us today. Have a happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving weekend. We'll be back Monday at 11 a.m.
Be loved. Love on your people. Happy Thanksgiving. Go Pearl Cone. Peace.